Hello guys, how are we doing? Welcome back to another video, and today I've got my half-season review of Norwich City's 2018-19 Championship season. So this video is going to work pretty much how the other ones have in the past year. I'm just going to run through all the results we've had, the significant moments in those games, and what those games have meant in terms of the league table and sort of fan opinion off the pitch. So yeah, let's get straight into it. Okay, before the video begins, I do have pretty much a written version of this, so yeah, I write a blog on Norwich City, and you can find the link for that in the description. I've pretty much just done a comprehensive summary of this video, but in written format, so yeah, if you'd rather read than listen to my voice, I don't blame you, to be honest, then you can do that, and yeah, the link for that is in the description, and you can also find it on my social media profiles. Okay, the first game of the season then, it was an away trip to Birmingham City, and it was a tough one to predict really. I wasn't sure how it was going to go after the bad start we made last season, but it was a thrilling 2-2 draw in the end, a quiet game until Birmingham took the lead in the second half. Then Norwich replied towards the end of the game, but then Birmingham got what seemed like the winner in stoppage time, but then Ono Hernandez was there to complete his double and secure Norwich a point on the opening day, and yeah, leave the fans not feeling too bad. Norwich City's first home game of the season was a disappointing but eventful defeat to West Brom Albion. Norwich took the lead through Jordan Rhodes and then missed a penalty, and then West Brom equalised and went 3-1 up in the second half. Norwich got one back, but West Brom then extended their lead, and Norwich did get another one back through Grant Hanley. It wasn't enough, as the Baggies claimed. Yeah, I didn't go to the game, unfortunately, as I had other commitments, but I heard it was an entertaining game. At least it showed we could score goals, as last season that was a major problem, but conceding 4 goals in the first home game of the season, certainly something to be concerned about. Norwich picked up their first win of the season with a 3-1 victory in the Cup against Stevenage. It was 1-1 for a long period of the game, but Zimmerman and Pukki got on the score sheet to secure Norwich a tie in the second round away to Cardiff City. A sucker punch for Norwich in their second away game of the season with a 2-1 defeat to Sheffield United, who would of course later go on to be with them in their promotion charge. Sheffield United took the lead early on, but Rhodes replied with an equaliser, his second goal in as many games. But then Norwich had a great chance in the second half. I think it was 3-1 in the end, but they missed that, and Sheffield United got a late winner in the 93rd minute of the game to secure the 3 points. And yeah, Norwich slipped to 21st in the table after just 1 point from 3 games. On a warm Wednesday night, Norwich picked up their first win of the season with a 2-0 win against Preston. It was goalless for a long period of the game, and fans were beginning to get restless, but up stepped Teemu Pukki and Alex Tettey with a wonder strike to give Norwich a vital 2-0 victory and just ease some of that pressure on Daniel Farke. Still only 4 points after 4 games and 15th in the table, but things may be starting to look up after a pretty poor start to the season. Canaries failed to build on their win in midweek against Preston and were beaten 3-0 at home comfortably by Leeds United, who were their team of the moment in the Championship. And from what I heard, again, I unfortunately wasn't able to make this game. It was a comprehensive performance from Leeds, and although Norwich did have some chances, they weren't clinical enough, and their visitors were just one step above them, and deservedly so picked up a 3-0 win. So yeah, it left us 17th in the table and just 4 points after 5 games, with a local derby against Ipswich coming up. Before that, it was the second round of the EFL Cup, and it was a long trip to Cardiff City. Certainly not one that I was interested in making, but it was a great performance from City, as they scored 3 goals past the Premier League side, with Dennis Sebeni getting a couple, and Max Aarons as well scoring his first goal for the club. So yeah, good momentum for Norwich into their game against Ipswich, and yeah, more proof again that scoring goals wouldn't be as much of a problem this season as it was last season. At the beginning of September, it was the East Anglian derby, and it was a largely disappointing one. It was a pretty terrible game of football, and finished 1-1 with Ipswich's goal a bit lucky, but Moritz Leitner scored the equaliser for Norwich and ensured there was no embarrassment, and it would be another derby unbeaten. Still not completely satisfied, but just the fact we didn't lose the game, I guess, matters most. And from this point onwards, things will take a turn in the right direction for Norwich. Perhaps somewhat surprisingly, Norwich's first win in a couple of games came against Middlesbrough, who were flying high at this point in the season, and it was a 1-0 victory. Again, it wasn't the prettiest game, but Norwich got 3 points. That was the main thing. Teemu Pukki getting on the score sheet in the second half and securing that all-important win. So yeah, 8 points after 7 games, still 16th, but nevertheless good to stop the rot. 2 wins on the trot for Norwich, and this one was an impressive away win at Reading, with Teemu Pukki scoring a sublime goal in the first half, and then although Reading equalised in the second half, Mario Vrancic popped up just a couple of minutes later and secured a second win on the trot for Norwich and a first away win of the season, and that lifted them up to 12th place. Make that 3 wins on the trot and 2 away wins in a row, as this one was a 1-0 victory at QPR. And I keep saying it wasn't a great game of football, but Norwich were finding a way to get over the line, and it was Teemu Pukki yet again who popped up in the second half and secured another 3 points for Norwich. And although it only lifted them up to 11th, this was much needed momentum for City after a terrible start to the season, and yet another away win. Make that 2 wins in a row at home as well, and 4 wins in a row overall, as Mario Vrancic scored a late penalty as Norwich beat Wigan in a game they comprehensively dominated, but just couldn't break the Latics down, and eventually did when they got a penalty in the 84th minute, I think, and it was Mario Vrancic who calmly tucked it away and secured an important win, and that one moved City up to 5th, and that was somewhat better after the situation before the derby when they were about 17th, and exciting times. Moving on into October, a stern test for City after their previous few games, and that winning run did come to an end against Derby, but it almost continued it, but Derby got a late equaliser after Tim Klose put City in the lead in the second half with a header from a corner, but a promising performance against a good Derby side, playing very well under Frank Lampard, and that retained Norwich's position in 5th place in the table and continued the positive vibe around the club. Norwich's unbeaten run came to an end at the hands of Stoke City, relegated from the Premier League, and this game I was unable to make, unfortunately, but I heard that Norwich pressed high and played well, but just couldn't quite put the ball in the back of the net, and they conceded to an own goal, so it was just what we call one of those off days, one of those days where it just doesn't go in for you, and a shame to bring the run to an end, and City dropped to 8th, but it was a good recovery nevertheless. One of those games where it would be said that this would prove how far Norwich City have come, and of course it did. It was a great away win at Nottingham Forest, and although the home side did take the lead in the first half, 2 goals from Tim Klose secured a massive win for Norwich at a tough place to go, and began to build a lot of confidence around the club and moved Norwich back into the playoff places, sitting prettily in 6th with 21 points after 13 games. Perhaps one of the most critical victories, this one was against Aston Villa, and Norwich fell behind yet again. Did a lot this season so far, but they were able to respond in the second half with 2 goals from Jordan Rhodes, and the second goal was an absolute peach. I can't remember, I think it was over 20 passes in the build-up, and then Rhodes finished it off with a potent finish in the box, and City up to 4th, and yes, fans getting excited for real, and in front of the cameras on a Tuesday night, so happy days. A perhaps more nonchalant victory against Brentford that could have been more comfortable, but the away side having seen Dean Smith leave to Aston Villa, starting life under Thomas Frank, and it wasn't going too well, and sadly for them it isn't going too well at the moment, but it was Emi Buendia with the goal after a pretty much Route 1 goal and a great finish from the Argentine, but it's just again one of those games where you just want the 3 points, and Norwich subsequently got that and stayed 4th in the table with their recovery continuing to go well. In the next round of the Cup, it was a defeat to Premier League Bournemouth, where Norwich could have plenty to be proud of at the end. They missed a lot of chances and definitely could have won this game, but the quality of the home side showed through in the end. And although Hernandez did get the equaliser for City, Bournemouth replied straight away and secured their place in the next round of the Cup. A bit disappointing to go out and to lose, but a valiant performance from City and plenty more to take into the next game away to Sheffield Wednesday. Norwich briefly went top of the league after a 4-0 victory at Sheffield Wednesday. They missed a penalty in the first half through Mario Vrancic, but scored 4 goals in the second half and blew the home side away, and it was Teemu Pukki with a couple, Buendia and Dennis Sveni getting on the score sheet, and just proof of what Norwich were capable of after not taking chances in recent weeks. They finally did against one team and put 4 goals past Sheffield Wednesday, ending a long November hoodoo as well as a hoodoo at Hillsborough itself, where they have struggled a lot in the past, but fabulous victory this one. 5 wins in a row in the league for Norwich as they beat Millwall 4-3 in a rollercoaster game. Unfortunately, again, I was unable to attend this one as I was busy in London, but I heard all about it and kept up to date with it, and I'll tell you about it. So Millwall took the lead in the first half, and then Norwich got an equaliser early into the second half. The game seemed to be petering out, but Moritz Leitner struck home a fabulous, what seemed to be the winner, but Millwall had other ideas as they scored 2 goals in the space of 2 minutes, and Norwich thought the game was gone. But then Jordan Rhodes popped up in added time, and Norwich thought they'd secured the point, but there was still time to snatch a late winner after Mill got a corner up the Norwich end, and then some brilliant football got the ball down to the other end, and it was Teemu Pukki who tucked away 4-3. And sent the crowd into bedlam, and it was one of those victories that you just remember for the rest of your life, whatever happens this season. But nevertheless, that meant 5 wins in a row in the league. And Norwich made it 6 wins on the bounce in the league, with an even more impressive 4-1 victory at relegated Swansea, down from the Premier League. So there was no goal in the first half, and then goals from Wendy and Stevenage saw Norwich 3-0 up inside 35 minutes. The Swans got a goal back just before half-time, but Pukki got one in the second half to finish it off and send Norwich to the top of the table, keep them at the top of the table. I forgot to mention that in the last. They went top of the table after beating Millwall, and Leeds dropped points, and they cemented their position with this victory. An end to the winning run in rather dull fashion, as it was a 0-0 draw away at Hull City on certainly a cold, wet, damp and all the adjectives you can think of Tuesday night up north. And not the pretty game at all. I did watch this one in the Capital Canaries pub in London, and it wasn't great, but it was one of those games where you just take the point. A point away from home is never always a bad thing, and it kept us first in the table. So we move on. Back to winning ways with a home victory against Rotherham. Norwich did not have it all their own way, as the Millers took the lead in the first half, but a second half recovery with goals from Todd Cantwell, Max Aarons and Teemu Pukki secured a 7th win in 8 games for Norwich and kept them top of the table yet again, and a great way to start what was going to be a very testing December. It was deja vu for Norwich as they picked up a 3-2 victory against Bolton in dramatic fashion. Norwich took the lead in the first half through Vrancic, doubled it in the second with Stevenage, but Bolton fought back well and deservedly got back to 2-2. And as City thought they might have to settle for a point, Teemu Pukki popped up yet again and struck home a winner and sent the home fans into yet more mayhem, and kept Norwich top of the table after Leeds thought they were going to go back to the top. But another one of those games that we're definitely going to remember for a long time. Norwich fought back to earn a point at Bristol City and continued their unbeaten run, stretching it to 10 games. They took the lead slightly against the run of play through Marco Stevenage, but the Robins replied on the stroke of half-time. They then took the lead in the second half early on, and it thought that maybe Norwich were going to lose a game for the first time in a few months, but it wasn't to be, as a great combination between Max Aarons and Onel Hernandez secured a good point for Norwich after fighting a flu bug during midweek as well. And although they did slip to second as Leeds beat Bolton, it was still another game unbeaten for Norwich, and it was confirmed that they would be in the top 2 come Christmas. And in the final game of the first half of the season, it was another narrow win for Norwich, and this time it was at Blackburn, and in very similar circumstances to previous weeks. Teemu Pukki popped up yet again. I've said that I think probably 5 or 6 times in this video now, in the 85th minute, and finished off a good team move after Norwich battled away throughout the game and sealed another victory, their 14th of the season. Leeds' late win at Aston Villa meant Norwich went to Christmas in 2nd place. Okay, so having a look at the table then, as you can see that Norwich sitting very prettily in 2nd place, 5 points clear of 3rd place to West Brom and just 1 point adrift of Leeds, who have won their last 5 games, so fair play to them, all the credit they deserve. 12 points clear of 7th place there, and you can see a fair way clear of the other part of the chasing pack as well. So certainly an attractive image for Norwich fans to look at. Hopefully it'll stay the same over Christmas, but things can change. Just a few of the statistics from the first half of the season, some eye-catching ones here. 47 points from 23 games, so averaging more than 2 points a game. 41 goals in 23 games, that's an increase of about 19 from last season at this point. 9 wins in the last 11 games, 7 home wins in the last 8 games, just 1 defeat in the last 17 games. 1 defeat away from home all season, that came at Sheffield United, and 23 points gained from goals after 70 minutes. That is outstanding. And my top 5 goals of Norwich this season, and the first one has got to be Teemu Pukki against Millwall, that 97th minute winner, which was a fantastic team move. Next one, also a team move, Jordan Rhodes against Aston Villa. Then Moritz Leitner against Millwall, great strike into the bottom corner from outside the box. And then Alex Tetty against Preston, a great volley from the edge of the box. And then finally a combination of Todd Cantwell and Max Aarons against Rotherham. Thought that was a wonderful goal to watch, although we've scored several very good team goals. Not so many sort of top corner ones, but just some attractive football to say the least. And Norwich have 3 more games to come in the next 10 days or so. First, they host Nottingham Forest on Boxing Day, and then Derby 3 days later, also at home, and then they travel to Brentford on New Year's Day before finishing up against Portsmouth in the Cup another week later. So yeah, it's another big period for Norwich, and 3 arguably very difficult games. Nottingham Forest and Derby both up there in the playoff picture. And then Brentford, never an easy place to go, Griffin Park and win, although we did do it this season, so surely we can do that again. So yes, that does complete a great first half of the season for Norwich City. 47 points from 23 games, yes, that is outstanding, and to be in second place at Christmas, you certainly wouldn't have believed that after we lost 3-0 to Leeds. Much to ponder for the second half of the season, and I'm sure many twists and turns to come. But yeah, thank you very much for tuning in today, guys. I wish you a very happy Christmas, and I'll see you in a couple of days for some more RuneScape videos.